Good afternoon. My name's Dino Delano, and this is the third in the series of Kundalini Awakening. 1977, I had an awakening of that force which is often termed as Kundalini. And I'll talk about that in the process and what takes place and how it does transform us as individuals, human beings, so on. In fact, in 1980, I wrote a book which is called A Seeker's Journal. In fact, I found this interesting enough rather recently on Amazon for $49, which, by the way, it sold for way less than that. And so I've decided to reproduce it. It's now available again on my website, which is Cool Zen Healing. But I'll talk more about that in a little bit later. All right. Kundalini, life force, chi, energy that moves through us as an organism. Let me first of all, though, start off with a story. Krishna one day is walking down the road, and he's got all the followers behind him, and as he's going down the street through the cities, more and more followers are gathered behind him, and he's talking about cosmic consciousness and enlightenment and all of these kinds of things. And in the process, he comes upon a little yogi that has been meditating all of his life, every day, all day long. And as he comes upon the yogi opens up his eyes and he looks at Krishna and he says, "Oh Krishna, how many more lifetimes must I do this to achieve enlightenment?" And Krishna looks down at him and he says, "For you, 10 more. 10 more, oh, how terrible, how awful, 10 more lifetimes I must do this." And about that time, though, there is a fool coming down the road. He is sipping a little bit of wine. He's flirting with the ladies as he goes along. He's having a good time and telling jokes and playing with the people, and he's wearing lots of colors around him. And as he comes up to Krishna, he says, oh Krishna, how many more lifetimes for me to achieve enlightenment?" Krishna looks at him and he said, "For you, 10,000. Is that all? Is that all?" Yes, indeed, is that all? You see, it's all perspective. So let's touch on a very important point here, and that's called the ego. Your ego, by the way, as many would lead you to believe, is not your enemy. In fact, your ego is your friend. Your ego, though, functions by your belief systems. If your ego is beautiful, if it's integrated, if it loves humanity and works with humanity and loves nature and so on, that is because of the belief systems behind it. Ego is very merely, in some sense, a filter. Put on the filter, and the world looks different. Take off the filter, again, it looks different again. So if you will change your beliefs, work on your belief systems, you will indeed change your ego. But if you attack the ego, you will indeed also be performing an act of self-hate. And then that life force, that Kundalini, becomes erratic, causes those feelings of like we feel like we're going insane, like we're crazy, and all of this kind of thing. This is what I meant in earlier videos when I said this can be really a very gentle, very beautiful process by giving into it. Giving into it means also giving into yourself, to the beauty of who you are as a human being. Attacking your ego is not going to bring beauty. All right, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, that this energy, this chi, this life force, this Kundalini, whatever we want to call it, is a unifying field of energy. Unifying means that it brings things together. It brings things into a harmony. Take a look at a flower sometime, and the petals of the flower, and how they all come together to form the beautiful rose or the beautiful iris. Take a look at this, an amazing piece which is called a nautilus. This is the outside of the shell, This is the inside of the shell. My, is this not magnificent? Life force, life energy, Kundalini, whatever we would like to call it, has brought this together into a unified field. You are a unified field of 50 trillion cells, imagining all of those cells working together, while this is where things like Tai Chi and Yoga and Qigong and all of these kinds of things bring harmony to the organism, why many people who do these processes are healed of many things such as arthritis and so forth. All right, let's also then go on and let's talk about beliefs in this way. Let's talk about dichotomy and how dichotomy splits the mind. Now instead of one, we have two minds. We have right and wrong. We have good and bad. We have night and day. Night and day is a good one to focus on for a moment. Night and day. Where does day begin and night leave off? Where does night start and day leave off? If we see them, though, as one, now we see a harmony of yin and yang, a balance of the wheel moving together. Same way as love and hate. Love and hate as one? Indeed. Think of a small child when it hates the parent because the parent has done something that has offended the child or pushed the child away. The child becomes angry in the process of trying to bring that love back. So love and hate are not two things. Love is not right and hate wrong. Hate, in fact, tries to unify. If you allow a human being anger in the world, oftentimes it gets them to go out and write things, to make things better, to get rid of the pesticides in the field because they see that we are poisoning ourselves with it, and so on. Yes, show me a human being who has no love, and I'll show you someone who has no hate. Someone who has no hate also has no love. Love and hate are a unified field. And this is what Kundalini does. This is why people have difficulty with it. This is why people have blocks and burning and the feelings of craziness. Because what it brings through is a unified field, not a split, not Republican and Democrat. Not a split, because with Republican and Democrat, they get to control us. They get to move us from one side to the other. We no longer can think holistically. Again, the process of the energy being a unifying field of force wants to bring us into a function of one. Not 3, not 4, not 6, not 8, but 1. That is not a loss, though, of your ego. That is not a loss of your individuality. It is simply an expression, an expansion of that individuality, expansion of that oneness to take in everyone, everything. You know, like we touched on earlier, I think in the first video that I did, we talked about the blacks in the South as making them other, as making this race other, as that race other, so on. Again, to be unified. In fact, in my book, I get very much into that, into dichotomy, about dichotomy, and how it splits us, and also how we can unify that field. If you begin to examine those things and bring them together, you indeed will become a unified field of energy. In unity, this process becomes easy in that sense. All right, it's good to have been with you once again, and I will be posting more videos in the future. You can look me up on coolzenhealing.com. All right, love being with you. Thanks again. Dino Delano.